Hello and welcome back to the Knitting Eillets Podcast, episode 10. I am so glad to be here again, sooner as I intended to and thought I could manage to do a new video, but it's fitting in nicely. Yeah, I have some stuff to tell you and to show you, so it's good that we do an episode now. Otherwise, I kind of finished stuff before I even started in the last episode, and I think I always like to see in between steps. So if I do a jumper, I don't want to see like the yarn. I'm going to knit the jumper with this and then finished jumper. So I really want to see also the in between steps. How does it look in between? I think that's really helpful. But first of all, thank you so much for all the love you've given to my last episode. Over 1,000, I don't know, some 100 views, 200 something subscribers. I can't believe it. And I will not go into how overwhelmed I am, because I am, but let's just get started. I look a bit without makeup today. I have a bit of an eye problem. I have a chronically inflamed eyelid thing, and sometimes it's stronger, sometimes I don't mind it at all, I can't feel it at all. In the last few weeks it was quite windy, it was dry, it was dusty in the air, like maybe from the first pollens or so. I'm not allergic to pollens, but I can feel the dust in the air, and my eyes are a bit red and scratchy and not very comfortable, so I can't put on any makeup or do some eye makeup, so I'm absolutely bare today. I hope you can bear with me. I have 2 finished objects. Yes, 2. I have 1, 2, 3.5 whips. Let's get started. First of all, the obvious. What I am wearing is also my first finished object. It's the Stick Season Sweater by the Creabea, Rebecca Clow. I'm not the first one to make this. I'm not the first one to show you this. But I really like how it turned out. I love the color. I think it's suiting me very nicely, and I love the fit. Yeah, I'll just tell you more in a second. First, I'll give you a little turnaround behind my sofa. As you already know, I knitted it up with Cecia New Jersey yarn in the color, I don't know, number burnt orange or something like that. And I was a bit off gauge. I had 19 stitches per 20 centimeter, not 20 as the Creabea suggests in the pattern. So what this means is that I was quite in between 2 sizes. If I wanted the recommended ease, I would have had like 5 to 7 centimeters ease with gauge for my bust size. But she recommends 10 to 15 centimeters ease, and now with the bigger gauge, it turned out a bit bigger, and it's now 10 centimeters of ease, and I really like it. I have a little mistake. I'm going to show you. You see in the front, the pattern is really nice, but in the back, I somehow miscounted, and the last row here is kind of in mid-pattern. I had to close it around and do the stockinette part, so something went wrong with counting there, but it's on my back, I don't mind. No one ever saw it, so who cares? I knitted it almost to pattern. I did one change, and that is that when you pick up from this line here, the Creabea says in the pattern to net X amount of centimeters before you start the increases for the collar part, and I knit a centimeter longer than she states for my size, just because I wanted the neckline to be lower. In her, it's kind of more up here, so like it's smaller and more up, and I can't stand the neckline like that. I want it to be below that one here, like this little crease here. I can't stand it if it's like here. I feel choked then. So I'm always kind of doing a bit of a bigger neckline. Then I went to the sleeve. I knitted the first sleeve. I did the wonderful tubular bind off. I love how this looks. Or Italian bind off. I'm not sure what the difference is, still not. And then I tried it on and did the color because I realized it was quite big. I was afraid that my collar and neckline would be too big. So I tried it on, said, oh, okay, I have to do the neckline first. And I did the neckline with the slip stitch method of Venetia. Let me see. You can see this really neat line of crochet slip stitches. And then I picked up the stitches, did the neckline, I turned it over and kind of knitted it and bind off together at the same time. So, and then it changed a lot. My sleeve was, of whom I first thought it was good in length. I was surprised at how short the sleeve of a sleeve I have to knit for my arm length. And then I tried it on again and it was here. And I was like, okay, I have to undo the Italian bind off and knit again some more sleeve and then do it again. So I did exactly that. They now turned out like a really good length, almost a bit on the longer side, but I like it. And one is a little bit longer, but I don't mind either. It's from blocking actually. Maybe I miscalculated or I mismeasured for a centimeter or so, but well, I like the length, but I had to lengthen the jumper and the sleeves quite a bit. The sleeves is no surprise to me. I have quite long arms, so I always have to knit the sleeves longer than they are stated in the pattern. The body, I think she has more of a cropped version. I wanted it longer. I wanted it to be at my hip bone. It's now over my hip bone, but when I raise my arm, it's kind of staying where it is. It's nice and cozy. I love it. And as you may see, I'm not wearing a scarf, and I'm only wearing like a tank top underneath, so also my arms are free, so I can now tolerate merino wool on the skin. I can feel this little edge here a little bit, so not something I would wear if I was too hot or with a little shawl on it. But I really love how this turned out. I love the wool. It's quite heavy, but I kind of like it. It's like a little bit of a blanket, and I got lots of compliment for the jumper, even from people who have nothing to do with knitting and didn't even realize it was knitted by myself. They said like, wow, that's a nice jumper, where is it from? And I was like, yeah, well, my needles. I love wearing it. Yeah, but the Sessia yarn I can totally recommend. It's very soft and nice and comfy, and I love the color. Really good choice. I was first a bit apprehensive, like, oh, is it too orange maybe? But I love it. I am having a little sweet, little white chocolate with raspberries in it. Then my second finished object, or objects, are my Tyto mitts, number 3. I love them so much. They are just gorgeous. I love them. I really do. On the back they look like this. And I did some changes to this pattern. It's the third time I knitted it, and it's by far the best version. So I really tweaked it for my my liking. I did a ribbing, and I used merino cotton wool by Mayflower, I think it was. I bought it over Hobby, but it's a Mayflower yarn, and it's really soft and nice. So yes, the green and the white are the cotton merino. The brown is actually a leftover from my sock yarn, which I used for my acorn socks. And it's a little bit variegated, so it it gives the owl, I think, a nice depth of the feathers here. Like, it's not always the same color like plain. You can also see it on the back side. It kind of changes very slightly. So I love that. And then I took my Cecia sock yarn. I'm not sure what it's called now, the alpaca one, with the dark brown to do the little accent and the eyeballs, and a little tiny scrap of rose colored cotton yarn. I think this is just cotton, and you do that in duplicate stitch. So all the dark parts and the rose part is done by duplicate stitch, so you never knit with more than 2 colors at the same time, which is nice, easy and handy. I decreased quite some stitches because I don't want to knit those with 2.5mm needles. I knitted those with 2.75mm needles on the plain part, so where it's plain stockinette stitch. It's not many rows. It's just here some rows and here at the top. The ribbing I did with 2.5mm needles. Is that true? Yes, it's true. And the colorwork I knitted with 3mm needles. And I cast on 52 stitches instead of 60. So I just eliminated some rows in the pattern, like there were more white rows here on the front, and there were more striped rows on the back. And I increased 2 stitches here in this white part, so I have 2 more rows compared to down there, so they fit really nicely and snugly. It's now a really good color combination with the orange, but they fit really nicely and snugly. I love that. And I elongated them a bit with the rib. They're not too long, but they kind of, I like when they go end here. They are a bit like, I could have done a tiny smidge longer, the ribbing, but it's okay. They are more like springy, not extremely warm fingerless mitts, and yeah, I just love them. They are gorgeous. I omitted some of the rows here in this pattern. It would have been like quite long, but I don't like my mitts to be like reach to mid-arm, so I shortened it to just 3 repeats, I think, instead of 6. It was quite a bit longer there, and I omitted that and just started with the colorwork part chart as it is, except for some rows. Increased as she states in the pattern, and it gives a really nice pattern on the thumb even, and I really like that. And then I went back to the green and yeah, did the finish again in ribbing. And I also did a tubular bind off on the thumb and on the mitt because I just did it on my jumper and I just fell in love with it. I also did it at the hemline of my jumper, by the way. Love those, really love those, and I am wearing them. Sometimes it's a bit hot now. It gets quite warm in the afternoon, like 13-14 degrees. It's kind of crazy. And it still gets very cold during night. So we have 0 to 3 degrees at night, or in the evening it cools down quite quickly. So I'm very glad to have those, especially in the morning when I had to drive to work in the car with the cold steering wheel. I kind of, oh yeah, they are very nice. Love them, and very happy I have one of my own now, and they will stay with me. The first ones I did in an alpaca wool, very soft one. I was not aware that I can't tolerate necessarily alpaca wool, and they were a bit tight, but they were, I omitted even more rows. Yeah, then I wore them once and they started itching really badly on the top of my hand here and on my wrist. So I knew I wouldn't wear them, so I gave them to my sister as a gift. And the second ones I knitted already in these colors, well, not the brown, but the green and the white. Then I went to Scotland and took them with me in summer because I thought, yeah, maybe it's a bit cold sometimes. I might be glad when we are hiking somewhere I can have like not mittens, but like these fingerless mitts. And we were at a concert with my boyfriend's, my partner's sister, who lives there, and her hands were kind of frozen. And I told her, yeah, take my mitts, you can take them, I'm quite fine, I'm good. And she's actually watching birds. It's her profession, to work with birds, and she of course was smitten by the owl mitts. And she asked me if I could knit her some, and I just said, keep those, I'll knit myself some new ones, it's easier that way. Yeah, I wore them 2 times, I think, before I gifted them to her. And now I have my ones, and I already wore them like 3 or 4 times, so they are definitely mine. I already got another request from a friend to knit her some of those. I will see what kind of colors I have in stash. I don't think I have enough of the green left to do another exact same pair. I have a greenish bluish cotton merino tone, so maybe I take that instead. So now to my works in progress. The first one is right behind me, and it's getting a bit hard to show. I'm not sure if you can see everything, but it's really, really lovely. It's the Sweetshop blanket, of course, by Laura Penrose. It's just so fun to knit. I now have 25 squares. By the way, that's the back side. So even the back side looks quite nice and neat. And it's just fun. I have so much fun like marling fingering weights together, like this one I did, and this is the newest one, the 2 kind of blue greens there. The rest was, this one was a advent calendar from Burst 3D Yarn. This was also a sock yarn, but 2 times the same strand. And I have some more. I will find some more combinations. I love it. I have one. Is it that one? Yes, this one was made by 2 reds fingering weight. One, I think, even is an alpaca. It's a baby alpaca and a sock yarn. Kind of red, 2 reds together, and it's lovely red tone. Yeah, I love it. I need to now figure out which colors I want to put. I always lay it out kind of on the floor, and then I put my yarn balls next to it and kind of shove them around, and when I'm happy with how it looks, I'm taking a photo, and then I can always look up in my my cell phone. Handy is the Swiss term, handy. In my cell phone, and kind of see what I wanted to do, so for me to memorize, it's a bit easier. So really love this one. It's kind of big enough now, so when I'm cold and I'm knitting, I have the last threads are not woven in yet, I can start kind of doing like this and get cozy. So it's starting to become a blanket, actually. Not just a napkin. So I really love it, and I just love how it looks. It's that ordered but colorful. So I will keep on knitting on this, and I will keep you posted. It's not my first priority at the moment, because blanket season at some point slowly is ending. I will knit on it because it's a very lovely, with the merino wool, it's quite lovely. It's not itchy or something. So yeah, I will see. I will see if what I feel like knitting on in summer. Maybe I put it aside until autumn. Maybe I will knit at it, some things, some squares. Maybe not too much, maybe a lot. I don't know yet. So that was the first finished, no, not finished object, work in progress. The second one. Have to watch the yarn ball. This looks a bit crinkled up, actually. It's because of the wool. I explain to you in a second. It is my second cozy jumper, which I'm almost finished with the first sleeve. Some centimeters missing. It is quite thick and quite sturdy. It is with bum threads yarn. I can't remember the colorway. Yes, I can. Stormy Sea. It's a mixture of merino, alpaca and silk, but I can't tell you the ratio because it's just there. And it's one had 187 meters on 169 grams. I can only recommend this yarn. It's so nice, like bum threads. I bought it in Scotland in a yarn shop in Nairn, I hope I pronounce it correctly. I couldn't afford more. I have this bit left. Then I have a big one, which will be the second sleeve, and I have a little bit left, but it's quite cropped now. If I pull it here, it's just after my belly button, which is way too short. I was afraid I was really running out of wool, so I bought the Wool Addicts Glory by Long Yarns in just a plain black, because there are a lot of colors in this one, so I didn't want to come in with another color if it's not matching, so I just took black because it's also black in there, and I really like how it looks. I like the black color. I will do black ribs at the bottom and on the sleeves, and yeah, it's quite thick yarn. I'm knitting this with 6.5mm needles, so they are quite some bummers there. I already did the collar, the V-neck, and here it's puckering a bit, but that's because the yarn, as you can see, it has quite, let me see if I can unroll it a bit. It's not very evenly spun, it's hand spun, so it has thicker and thinner parts. It has really thin parts. If you look here, this little part here, compared to this part, it's like half the thickness. So it means that it's not the same, and the fabric is puckering a little bit. I think I also might have done the slip stitch edge a little tiny bit tight on that side, but it's also puckering here, and here it's definitely not too tight, so it might just be the wool. I think it will go away when I block it. I love the color. The color is not shown really well. It's actually kind of a greenish petrol blue. It's not it has a greenish tint to it, definitely. So I did, and I'm not sure you can actually see this. I just did a stockinette color with a center double decrease, I think this is called, and an I-cord bind off. And I intend to do the ribbing, so a little bit of plain stockinette stitch and then an I-cord bind off. I don't necessarily want a ribbing. I'm not sure yet. Maybe I do a ribbing. I have to check now first how much, if this is enough for one sleeve. And then I'll need, this is a bit more than this was, so I will have a bit left over of this one. And I wasn't sure if I wanted tapered sleeves or like a little bit of a bishop sleeve. I'm kind of making the pattern up as I go, by the way. I just cast on a certain amount of stitches, and then I just did a normal raglan, top down raglan. You hardly can't see it actually because of the wool. Can't see it a bit here, the line. So compound raglan, I kind of changed the increase rate here. And now I'm doing the sleeves, but as you can see, I haven't figured out how to do the decreases. It's not fitted, it's not tight, it has ease, but it's not a bishop sleeve, so I'm not sure yet if I like that, to be honest. Maybe if I see that I have enough yarn, I might do the length first and then go back, but maybe I don't want the black down here if I can't prevent it. Maybe I just do an I-cord bind off and it's fine, and it's blue, and I just have black on the neckband and the ribbing on my arms. It would also be nice because I think otherwise it would be very black down here. Yeah, it's a bit a yarn chicken game, but I have enough yarn. I don't want too much black in it. I really just want it for the ribbing, not necessarily for all ribbing. So I'm kind of playing around a bit with how much do I need for a sleeve, how much do I need for the bottom. So I might add this small one to the bottom if I see that this is enough, because I know this will be enough for the second sleeve, and then I see if I need to add a ribbing in black or if I can do it just an I-cord bind off and be done with it. So I really like that one. I love how it looks, and it's not as oversized as my blue sweater is, but I didn't do it too big because I think that is a yarn with the alpaca that will grow quite a lot when I block it. So I think it will bloom up and it will grow quite a bit. And I want to make it long enough so I could pull it a little bit, stretch it a bit out to make it a bit wider. So, but this will be no problem with this yarn. This will be really heavy. I just love the fabric. Like, I love these yellow golden speckles in there. It's a gorgeous yarn, really, and it's really soft and cozy. I'm not sure if I'm finishing this before spring, summer. This is definitely not something I will knit on during summer. This is way too warm and too itchy with the alpaca for me during summer. So I might put that aside as a UFO, you would say, or a resting whip. And I would, take it back go back to it in autumn. Because I am definitely starting to feel spring vibes here. First little flowers are blooming and you can hear the birds sing in the morning really loudly. The forests are still brown. There is no hint of a leaf whatsoever at the moment. It's still too early for that, but you can't see, you really can't see the little flowers on the ground like blooming up, the first ones. So I got some spring vibes. I'm starting to feel the urge to cast on some springy things. And as I finished my Tyto mitts, I decided I want to do a spring sock. On Christmas, Advent, I participated at Scrappy Yarn Advent, hosted by the Rebecca. I had a partner in Germany, Christine from Knit & See, and we exchanged the packages. And on kind of not even 24th was a normal like yarn ball of 10 grams, but she added kind of a Christmas gift, and it was 2 full skeins of sock yarn. They are both gorgeous. I already showed you the other one last time from this Mondschaf, which is more like my colors. I think it will suit me a bit better, and I do want to make a muscle wear hat with it. That's why I ordered also at the Fiberfox yarns to find a matching red to kind of hold 2 fingerings together. And this one from Gardenflower yarns, is that correct? I lost the ball band. I think it was Gardenflower yarns. I can't tell you which, but it's such a lovely pastel-y, springy color variation. It's just marvelous. And I knitted a sock. I started a sock. Toe up as always on 2.75mm needles. And I took the pattern from the Hermione's Everyday Socks, which is a free pattern on Ravelry. And I did this stitch pattern. And I think it works really well with this yarn and the hand-dyed yarn. If you want to see the back side, which is plain stockinette on the foot, on the sole of my foot. So that's how it looks in plain stockinette stitch, and that's how it looks with the little stitch pattern. I did a shadow wrap short row heel just yesterday. It's still a bit wonky. Just love how this looks. And I'm now at the upper part of the leg part. And I decided I want to kind of tweak it a bit. I want to kind of do something more than just a pattern. So I decided I want to try colorwork again on socks, which was not very successful in the past. One sock I can Magic Toadstool Socks by Stone Knit, I can just about get over my feet, and it's just on the top, the colorwork. And I reknitted it that 4 times to fit. And my very first socks with colorwork I had to give to my mother because she has smaller feet, because I couldn't fit it over my feet. So the moment not very successful, and as you see, I'm knitting on DP ends, and I did the colorwork on DP ends, and I think that was my mistake. I realized that knitting my Tyto mitts, first did them on DP ends, and then it puckered and everything, and I was like, I have to do magic loop, I guess. So I will do magic loop here too, and I will go up to a 3mm needle, and I think this will be fine. And I'm just, again, making it up as I go, taking my vanilla sock recipe, and I have some yarn scraps also from, this is going to be a Christine Knit and See sock, because it's all yarns from her. So I have, goal of mine was also to knit from my books, so I'm kind of smashing my aims here at this with this sock. I have the Charming Colorwork Socks book by Charlotte Stone, and I'm not going to do the whole chart. I'm kind of just doing one line at the top, like the thing here, this little pattern I put up here, like a little band around. Then I'll do this row of tulips, and then I'll do another pattern, and I really want to try again a picot edge. I think it would look really nice, and I think it will work better in this yarn than it did with the alpaca yarn. So a little romantic, flowery, springy, vibey socks, like, oh, I just need spring. So I found some yarns. I will do the tulip stems. I think I will do with those, with this green. And then I'm not sure what is better. This white with some rose speckles and a little bit of yellow, or this kind of rose mauve tone. I think this is very low contrast, so I might opt for this one, because it's just, I think you can see it a bit better. We'll see. So these are my spring socks, and yeah, love them. I just love them. So, and then my last whip, or half whip, like it's a long-term one. I actually got myself some help, hopefully. It's my granny square blanket, which will not be a blanket for an adult size. I changed my plans, it will be a baby blanket, and I still have to crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 squares at least, and then it's a small blanket. It will be fine for the newborn. Will be okay, I think, but yeah, it's a small blanket. I asked my mom if she would help me crochet some granny squares in the beige tone. I need to do one more in the blue tone, which I have here, and one more in beige I would do, and she would try 2 or 3 in this beige tone, because I really get wrist ache when I'm doing crochet. I can hardly finish one of those squares without really feeling my wrists on both hands. I can knit for hours and I don't feel anything in my hands, wrists, anywhere. So I think I'm very relaxed, and something about holding this stuff is kind of tension, something in my hands. It's very uncomfortable, and I have to do a break actually even before knitting after the crochet thing, so I'm not very fond of that, of crocheting. So if it's a little border, if it's a little slip stitch edge, that's totally fine, but even granny squares is just, it's not made for my hands, are not made to crochet, they are made to knit. So and that's why I asked my mom for help, because I really want to knit, and I will go do 2 more, but I really have to space several days in between to kind of get enough rest, and then I can do another one. But yeah, the time is getting short and I have to put them all together still. So I'm not yet sure even how this will work out and how this will function and how I have to do this. I have to sew in all the ends, so it's still a lot to do, and the baby is due by the end of March, so not much time. I will never do a baby blanket in crochet again. I will knit a little chomper or something. It's so much quicker. But well, I had those 6, 7, 8 squares already done, and yeah, it's a good solution. It's not, the whole work is not done for nothing. So these were my whips, and I have 2 plants. One is still a bit unsure, one is very sure, and I'm really keen to cast that one on. So we'll start with that one. So back in our Scotland holiday, I, of course, in Edinburgh went to the Ginger Twist studio and bought 2 skeins of this lovely, lovely, lovely merino silk. It's a 4-ply, it's called Factory Girls is the color. It's 50% merino, 50% silk, 100 grams, 400 meters. It's just gorgeous. Guys, it's wonderful. And I know I can tolerate merino silk. I can tolerate pure merino on my arms now. I can tolerate merino silk. I know that from my blue tulip sweater by Lirico. This is also made in merino silk, and I know I can tolerate it. It's just, I want to do a long sleeve sweater for spring. And I really, really looked, and with 800 meters fingering weight, it's just not very likely if I don't do like a lot of negative ease and slim fitted sleeves, which is not what I want. So I started searching for patterns, and I don't know what is wrong with me, guys, but I couldn't find a pattern. Again, same as with my romantic summer tea, or with this one, I couldn't find a pattern that had everything I wanted in it. So I'm going to make up my own again. I'm sorry. I hope this is not boring for you if I can't tell you the patterns. I might take the Flax Light stitch count as a rough guideline. And I have to bring in some more yarn to make it work out. So I ordered by Sakami Yarns, and I got this sock yarn. It's a merino sock yarn in this lovely green, and it's with the darker tones. It's the same color, really, in real life and also in Kai's. Absolutely the same. It is a little tiny bit thinner. The thread is kind of, don't know if you can see this. This one is a bit thicker, and it's not just because it's lighter, it's really a bit thicker. Can you see it like this? Yeah, I think you can see. It's a bit thinner, so I might have to see if I have to take it double or so to kind of, yeah, kind of match the size here. It's loosely, it's spun more loosely. Maybe this is spun tighter, I don't know. But it's I have to do a gauge swatch and see how much this puffs up, and I have to do a gauge swatch with this one, but I think I will prefer holding this one double to get the same, or a bit thicker than this one. I don't mind a bit thicker. I mind being wholly and thinner and like kind of loosey-goosey. I don't like that. So I have to improvise a bit, but life would be boring without coming up with your own patterns when there are thousands of them on Ravelry. And then I don't just want a plain green raglan sweater. I want something a little bit special with it. And I have this other Sakami yarns, which is the same. It's merino finger weight, 400 meters, and it's, I think, oatmeal is the color or something. And I thought this looks really nice. It's low contrast. It's very low contrast. I have to swatch and see if this is actually working. This would be a bit more contrast. I might see how I'm doing that, but I want to do a little bit of color work at the bottom. The color work I kind of chose is the one from the book Nordic Top-Down Nahtlos gestrickt. I think in English it's called Strands of Joy. I think it is, not strings. Strands of Joy, I think is the English title. I've seen this little dress here. The bottom, you see, it changes the color. So if I don't have enough of the green yarn, when I do the color work, I could change into this other color. Now, I'm not sure, and I love the flower motif, but I'm not sure if this is not enough of a contrast. So I took this yarn, and it's not convincing me on camera, even less than in real life. So yeah, we will see. So maybe I kind of will blend over to this one at the end and then do the color work with these two because they are plainer. It's kind of more contrast. And it can be a subtle color work. It doesn't have to be like bam in your face. And I want to start because I want to cast on a spring sweater. But at the same time, I'd love to wait for the Fiber Fox yarns because I ordered some really nice yarns there, and there might be one with them that really is the match. So I'm not sure, and it's also fingering, so not sure yet if I should start or not. What I also want to do is I want to do a really nice how do you say that, round collar neckline, so not a v-neck or something, just a round one, a normal one, but with a lot of short rows to really get a nice, I would want the neckline to sit kind of here for this spring sweater, like really low one, so I will cast on more stitches and kind of do a lot of short rows to get it down. I really managed that with my romantic summer tee, so I will take those numbers if I can find them still, or I will just go with the flow as always. And then I want to do a Latvian braid with the two colors I choose around the neckline, and that's why I thought I would start with this one. Just cast on, knit 3 rounds, do the Latvian braid, and then kind of change into this one afterwards and then do the whole sweater thingy. Also do Latvian braids around the arms and the color work at the bottom. No Latvian braids there, just the color work. I think with the Latvian braids it would be a bit too much maybe. I think. So I'll just do the color work, maybe change into the other color. If I really don't have enough of this, I might change into the other color. And yeah, it's kind of a mixture of Latvian braids and color work. I think that would look really nice and simple, but with a little special thing on it. And I would just do I-cord edges in the end, like neckline and afterthought I-cord edging, and I would do I-cord bind off on the sleeves. That's what I have in my head. I haven't sketched it, I haven't written it down or something. I just kind of have a picture in my head how I want it to look, and we'll see if I can manage. I'm not yet sure if I do something on the raglan lines, like a little special thing, not a too complicated one, but maybe a little slip stitch line, maybe do a slip stitch line here. But I'm not sure of that. Maybe it's too much. Maybe I just want a plain raglan with the Latvian braid here, and yeah, and just let the beautiful yarn work do its magic. Hope this was understandable, not too long, not too boring. This is the first plan. Okay, a little change of plans. I wanted to show you another idea I had, or something I have in my stash for a very long time now, a yarn and a pattern that goes with it, a shawl pattern, like a lace shawl. But for the life of me, I can't find the yarn ball at the moment. I had it in my hands last week. It's somewhere and I have no idea where it's gone. I just searched literally my entire apartment. no idea where it is. I really have to go through everything again. So I will push that. It's not very sure if I will do it, so I'm just skipping that. But whilst searching, I found I have an acquisition one, and I just want to show you that because it's a lovely one. The first time I was on a real life knit and meet, I don't know, striktreff in a yarn shop. So it's not just around the corner. I had to drive like 35-40 minutes with the car. But I've seen the dyer, on the owner of that shop. I've seen her on the Swiss Yarn Festival last year, and we talked a bit, and yeah, I thought she was very, very nice, and I followed her on Instagram and everything, and she now said that she has a yarn, not a yarn meetup, but a knitting chat every second and fourth Saturday morning, like 11 to 3, and yeah, I just wanted to go. I wanted to go before Christmas actually, but I was sick then, or ill, I had to stay home, and then end of January was the first time I could go, and it was really lovely. There were 3 other ladies, the yarn shop owner and I, very nice, chatty round with lovely foods, lovely yarns, lovely projects. I took my Sweetshop blanket and knitted 1 or 2 squares on it. It's really, really nice. And as I was sitting in that shop, I was like, yeah, why not? Buy some yarn. And I bought a sock set. And the name of the shop is Forever Taiga Yarns. She also has an online store. Yeah, she's dyeing some wool, and this one is 60% merino and 40% tencel. So it is a sock yarn with no nylon. It's a fingering weight, 400 meters for 100 grams. This one is 60% merino, 40% rami. I just saw it has kind of these shiny threads in there. Almost like it's a bit sparkly, but it's very interesting to look at. Like some of the threads are quite shiny, so it has a bit of a silky touch, and I wanted to try a sock set without nylon, especially now for spring and the warmer seasons. I'm not particularly fond of the nylon content or polyamide content, and one other lady had knitted up some socks, and I could touch them and they were feeling so nice and soft. So yeah, I really love this yarn combo. I actually changed out the mini. There was another one with it, and I asked her if I could change because this one was just lying next to, well, with some other minis was lying next to them, and she said yes, sure. So I changed it to that grayish, maybe not grayish, brown, gray brown, I'm not sure, a brown new color. Almost matches my blanket there in the back. Really interesting color, and yeah, I will knit up some socks with this, but not yet. At some point. So I really like it. So one acquisition, it costs 31 francs, which is totally normal price for Swiss hand-dyed yarn. Looking forward to trying this out. So that's the end of this podcast. Thank you very much if you stuck with me for that long. It turned out to be a little bit longer than I intended to. And thank you very much for liking and subscribing. And if you want to find me somewhere else, you can find me on Ravelry as Eillets and on Instagram as knitting_Eillets. So if you want to stay in touch with me, if you want to write me, I try to answer as best as I can. If you want to leave a comment to one of the projects, maybe tell me what you are planning to knit for spring and summer, would be nice. I'm not sure if I should do a pattern roundup, like a summer pattern roundup, or spring and summer. I might do that, but I'm not sure yet if this is something you would want. Would you like to have a pattern roundup for spring and summer? Let me know in the comments below if you want to. See you next time. Bye.